Scott Tibbles with the Investing News Network, and today I'm at PDAC 2020. Joining me now is Jayant Bhandari, a financial analyst with Anarcho Capital. Thank you so much for joining me, Jayant.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
So, Jayant, each time we've spoken in the past, you've talked a lot about your appreciation and admiration for China. Now, China has been in the news a lot in the past few weeks, as we all know, with the coronavirus epidemic happening there. So, can you tell me about your thoughts on the situation there? What is your main takeaway of coverage, and whether or not there's been an overreaction or an underreaction of the situation?
Well, clearly there has been an overreaction to what's been happening in China. Mm-hmm. There's hysteria in the marketplace, which is great for me. I'm very happy to buy investment vehicles at a cheaper price. So I think this is the best time for people to make money. As far as China is concerned, my bullish expectations from China have heightened rather than reduced. I think they are handling the issue extremely well. They have removed the leadership that was responsible for not putting controls on the virus in time, and they have put a lot of social controls which have to happen in a social emergency. You have to put quarantine measures, and sometimes you have to be heavy-handed about it. China has done it extremely well. Some of the wrong things will have happened, but at the end of the day, overall, China has done extremely well. I think China will emerge out of it victorious.
Okay, and so as a lot of people will have seen, there's been pictures from NASA's satellite imagery circulating on the internet showing the drop in industrial output and the effect on emissions. So obviously China's economy is going to be deeply affected by this, and now globally there's been 3,000 deaths, there's more than 80,000 confirmed cases, there's travel restrictions, not just on China but on other countries around the world as well. In fact, it's reached pandemic stages. Is it time to panic?
Well, it could be because look at Iran. Iran has no way to control the spread of epidemic. They don't have a proper medical facilities. They don't have organizational capabilities. China has all those things. If you look at the net number of sick people today, it continues to fall in China, and that has been happening for the last 10 days or so. So the net numbers keep falling in China. They're increasing elsewhere because other people are less capable of controlling the virus. So I'm not saying virus is not a bad thing. It's just that China will emerge hopefully fine after a few weeks' time. Chinese factories, from what I know, are starting to open up, and they have been people have been going to offices and factories, not in full numbers, but they have started to go. Now, what would have been the loss faced by these companies? Yes, 5 or 10% of their net worth, but remember, if stock prices have fallen by 20-25%, I am already ahead of the game if I can get these investments vehicle at such a cheap price.
And looking at the global economy more widely, what's your prediction on what sort of situation we're going to see? Can you see there being just a global recession, a financial crisis, or maybe we're going to bounce back pretty quickly? What sort of timeline are we looking at?
Well, I think other countries are going to suffer more than China did. There are a lot of countries, let's say Latin America or Africa or Australia, which are very dependent on Chinese consumption. Now, if Chinese consumption slows down, then production of commodities by these commodity producing companies will have to fall, or prices will fall. So these people will suffer a lot because of what's happening in China.
So Australia is going to suffer more than China, perhaps?
I'm not sure if Australia will suffer more than China, but they will be suffering. I mean, I have to remember that Australia is a first world country. It has a lot more than just commodities, but commodities is an extremely important part of Australia.
Yes.
Australian economy has grown almost continuously, if I'm not wrong, for the last 2 or 3 decades. And that has happened mostly because of China.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying that Australia would not have grown without China, but China has been a big influence, positive influence for Australian economy.
Yes, and Australia has been highlighted as one of the countries that would be mostly affected by the downturn in China as demand for their commodities falls away. So a few weeks ago, I spoke to you about where investors would put their money. As we've seen in the past few days, the markets are down, commodities are down, and interestingly, gold is down. So where can investors run to in a situation like this if they want to preserve their wealth? What's your advice?
Oh, well, I mean, just buy what is on sale right now. This is an amazing opportunity to load up on companies at a very cheap price. And these are the kind of events which actually make you the most money in the shortest amount of time. And this is a very exciting opportunity, Scott. You can actually position yourself to make a lot of money very quickly.
Okay, right. Well, so for a completely different change of pace, let's look at the US now. You've also spoke about the United States during your chat earlier here today at PDAC. Super Tuesday is now upon us. The election is now seemingly coming along in full swing. By the looks of it, Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee. That I don't really think anybody's going to doubt that. But there are still lots of doubts about who's going to be the Democratic nominee. How does the way that you invest change depending on who you think is going to win?
Well, I don't know who will win. I hope Donald Trump wins, and I think he's very likely to win because his voters are the most passionate people in terms of going to the booth to vote, and that will probably ensure his win. Despite that, if lazy people were to be coming to the booth, Democrats might have won. But my guess is Trump will win, and that is a great thing for America. America needs Trump to continue to be in power for the next 5 years.
And what about the Democrats? They seem to be still bickering about who's going to be their nominee. They've still got a long way to go before we know who's going to be going up against Donald Trump. What does a Sanders nomination mean for you?
Well, I mean, if Donald Trump loses, it does not matter whether it's Sanders or it's Joe Biden or it's anyone else. America will face horrendous problems because the undercurrent of the Democrat Party today is leftism, an extreme leftism. That will destroy the spine of the US in no time. And demographically, America is increasingly shifting towards the left. And leftism will destroy America. So I hope Trump can delay that by another 4 years. But unfortunately, I have a very grim view of the future America because America is inevitably going to become increasingly leftist as time goes by.
This is also something that you mentioned during your chat. You talked about the future of humanity. Can you run me through, like, why is the US in decline? What are your thoughts on that? Can you just give me the cliff notes on that?
See, human beings become a civilization when they have institutions of reason. And democracy means that tyranny of masses start asserting itself through the institutions. And masses basically eat away, as termite does, the innards of the institutions and civilization, and we become increasingly feral. And you can see that in a lot of countries where institutions get destroyed. Institutions have to be structured in a sense that criminals get punishment, but as you can see in Canada today, demonstrators who are blocking public infrastructure have faced no consequences for the destruction they are causing. And when that stops happening, civilization starts to fall apart. And that is going to happen when the left comes to power.
Okay, well then, with that, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me, Jayant. It's good that you were not scared away from PDAC 2020.
Well, thanks for having me here.
Again, I'm Scott Tibbles with the Investing News Network, and I've been having a chat with Jayant Bhandari of Anarcho Capital.